Here's an important part of my life story that I have on several different locations, and I might have mentioned it on this open sourced, just creative process file. But what I did want to mention is all the allergy medications that I learned about and tried for this neurological disorder. Now, Benadryl helps a little bit, by the way, only a tiny, tiny bit, but that is something I discovered a long time ago. And it really confused me because my mother was calling this neurological disorder an allergy. She said that night it was an allergy. She never looked into this allergy. She never brought me to the emergency room for this allergy attack. And the symptoms that went during that night, the symptoms that went with that overdose continued over time. And this every time I brought it up at the doctor's, she called it an allergy all the way up to like age 12. And then she just told me to shut up about it pretty much and forget about it, stop talking about it. But because I was told it was an allergy or an allergy attack, I started trying antihistamines. Now, as an adult at 18, I started asking doctors about this and researching it, and I stopped. I just took Benadryl for actual allergies and actual sleep. That's it. That's all I took Benadryl for. But as a child, I was taking Benadryl. I even tried pseudoephedrine one summer. I walked into a pharmacy, bought some pseudoephedrine, and just took two. That was all. And then I got in trouble before I even got to take any more. It was a big problem. It was all I was trying to do was buy allergy medication, and they made it a big deal. I found out later that from one of my buddies after I was talking to him in the program. No, it wasn't in the program. How did? Anyways, I was talking to some kid, and he told me they make meth out of it. I'm like, oh, okay. I should have looked that one up online, I guess, but probably a good thing I didn't. They'd think I was some crazy battery acid pseudoephedrine guy or something. I don't know. All I was trying to buy was pseudoephedrine, but apparently people make a big deal about that. And this was as a child. I obviously wasn't one of these crazy people around here. Oh my God, is it bad? I heard that people are literally like, I guess using bug cleaner in it now or something, and it's killing people. I don't know. These people look awful. Meth is by far the most destructive, worst drug I've ever seen. And you can't help these people. There's nothing you can do. There is no rehab. There is no taper. It's battery acid and pharmaceuticals and chemicals. There's nothing you can do for these people. They have to willingly stop, and it's almost impossible with a drug like that. It's scary. I'm telling you, this meth, you better hope it never comes to your town because it is all over New Hampshire and it is bad. It is an ugly thing to see. And there's very little the government can do about this drug. I mean, there are people smoking meth with children. It is bad. It is an awful thing to watch up here. But, anyways, yeah, when I was a child, I used to take allergy medication. I tried Benadryl, pseudoephedrine, some dollar store allergy medication, allergy cough and cold, small amounts of all that because it's usually Tylenol or by itself. It's not something you get high off of. It's just something you take two of or a couple of. I went a little bit off the rails a little bit with the Benadryl when I was about 15. But other than that, I tried everything for this neurological disorder. Now it's crazy of me, crazy of me to try to treat this on my own. But then again, I asked for help from the doctors. I tried figuring this out with my mother. I tried discussing her behaviors with people. I tried, discussing this extra drugs and all that. It was very aware that I was having problems moving my body. This wasn't a secret. Doctors were telling my mother and father that I had coordination issues and tics, and they visibly could see it in me. This wasn't some secret. And so I took a couple Benadryl here or there. Now, this was only for about a year at age 15. Then I think there was a time, I don't know what age, where I walked into a store, took two pseudoephedrine, and then tried to buy more pseudoephedrine but got in trouble for it, so never continued. And I have noticed that when I do take Benadryl, I see a little bit of an improvement. but I only could take one at bedtime, or one like if I have an allergy attack, like a rash on me. And that's like once every month. I was taking it for sleep for quite a while, one at bedtime, and I did see improvement with my neurological condition, but it's only a small improvement, about the same amount as taking like a CBD capsule or a CBN capsule. It's not that big a difference. The seizure medication I'm on, I see an 80% difference. I would say Benadryl and CBN maybe give me like a 5% difference. There has to be better treatment. Oh, and benzodiazepam, I see a 90% improvement. But I can't take it because I'm too afraid that if I stop, they'll get worse, and they're addictive drugs. So there's so much other stuff that we can try way before benzodiazepam. So first we need a diagnosis. But the fact that my mother had me convinced that this was an allergy and had this big fantasy that I was feeding into is ridiculous. And the fact that my father's still feeding into my mother's fantasies, it is really pathetic. It makes it hurt, really, because he'd rather feed in to a made up fantasy about me than even try to, reconnect with his family or have faith in other people or even have faith in God. All of it, he'd just rather, crawl up in a ball, run away, pretend like he's in denial and he doesn't remember any of the crazy behaviors my mother exhibited in front of me and in front of him, and then act like that didn't affect my behavior or make me act crazy. Of course it does. I mean, if you think that a child isn't going to have behavioral problems and educational problems and problems with his nervous system, with all the things that were going on, then you have a problem yourself. You do. Because the things that were going on in that house cause problems in children. You cannot have massive amounts of pills being given to a child. You cannot have a mother acting like my mother did and expect there not to be consequences for that. And it's the child that pays those consequences, and I did. I have clear cut memories of what happened in those houses. Westford, Texas, New Mexico, Maine, Mass, 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 Mass. I remember clear cut a lot of memories. There's a lot I don't remember. There's a lot of things I did that were probably pretty crazy when I was drugged up. There's a lot of really fuzzy memories. I remember the pills really screwing me quite a bit, and I didn't get an opportunity to, figure out my body. And I was making stupid decisions, thinking that treating myself with maybe alcohol or allergy medication might be a good decision, or even cough medicine. Those are all awful decisions I made that were crazy, but they were based off having a neurological condition that wasn't being treated, being on lots of pills, having a mother act inappropriately. It's based off of a lot of factors, and I made mistakes. I shouldn't have tried to treat myself with anything. I should have been able to consult a doctor, have constant care, and have this neurological disorder treated. I also probably should have had been taken away from Patricia because of the way she was acting. It would have been for my best safety. Even if I had to stay in those programs, it probably would have been the best for my own safety. They probably would have learned what was going on with my body. And way before she got all these pills and all the damage done to me. It would have been ideal to put me back into the programs before she did damage to my nervous system and started drugging me with pills. After the damage was done, there's not much else. I mean, the pills, at least if they stopped it, maybe there wouldn't be more damage. I don't know, and maybe I could have processed it a lot better. Um, but I still would have been in the programs, but it would have been different. There might have been less medications, there would have been less psychotic behaviors, and at least my meds would have been a little more stable. There would have been a little more stable with my medication for sure. Um, yeah, it didn't end very well for me, and I made a lot of bad choices, but my bad choices did depend on the situations I was put in. And those situations are crazy and messed up. I should have never been put in those situations. I should have never had my drugs been poured down my throat. I should have never been given extra of anything. I should have never had any experimentation of drugs being given to me by another person, meaning my mother, experimenting with what pills she's giving me, trying to knock me out 1 minute, trying to do certain things on her own, making her own decisions with medications without consulting a doctor, and then I'm the one who has to pay the consequences for that. That's not right. And then later in life, I'm trying to treat myself. That's completely crazy. No, I need to see a neurologist, and he needs to know what was going on with my mother, the medication, and me. And then he needs to know about what was going on with the drugs in me and all the medications with me all the way from 18 on. But before 18, he needs to be aware of everything that was going on with the drugs in me and my mother. That's pharmaceutical drugs, and I just don't see it. I don't see her being honest with any of these doctors or consulting them or being safe with these medications and my body. It's a big problem. I mean, I'm not no saint when it comes to pharmaceuticals, but she definitely was doing some serious things to my body way before I took over. And I shouldn't have to take allergy medication convinced that my neurological disorder is an allergy. That's messed up that I was told that. That my mother made up a story in front of a doctor and reported that night what was happening over and over and over and over as an allergy attack. It definitely wasn't. She would get to the bottom of that allergy. She would have called an ambulance that night. I mean, there's a million and one things wrong with that cover story.